like any hatch really, you know what I mean? When fish start moving first on something, they're more aggressive and they're keener and to that and to go, you know. But I think on Corrib, every chance I get anyway, I'd be fishing dries. You know, it's just, I think it's nicer fishing. I think it's, you know, it's more visual. You know, you get a lot of that. You know, you can see the takes, as you said there. You can see if you've got a few fish moving down in front of you. It's nice to get them to just come up.
Hello and welcome to the Ireland on the Fly podcast about the people and places of fly fishing in Ireland. And if you're a loughs angler, I'm pretty sure there's only one thing on your mind for the next few weeks: the Mayfly fishing, be it on Derg, Corrib, Mask, Sheelin or elsewhere. At the end of the month, we'll have an episode reviewing the Mayfly season on all the major Irish waters, but for this week we're focusing on Lough Corrib, and to tell us how it's been faring so far, we're joined by friend of the show and well-known Corrib angler, Mike Keady. Mike, thanks a million for joining us again, and tell us, has your Mayfly season begun in earnest yet?
It's kicking off nicely now. I have to say it's kicking off nicely. It's amazing. Things just, once you come into May, you see the white corn and it just, everything kind of changes. Do you know what I mean? There's just, you see fish moving, it's just more life. It's just a different time. It's like it just switches over in days. It's amazing, you know. But yeah, it's starting. Yeah, it was Midland upflight. It was pretty okay on the olives, but again, you had that cold, harsh weather, and just really, I suppose, the end of April there, it's really started to take off. There's been some brilliant buzzer fishing, especially down the lake. We've had some cracking days on it, into double figures numbers of fish, and some really good quality fish, and fish are in brilliant condition. That will probably start to taper off now, but the Mayfly is starting to kick in, and a lot of fish being caught in the DAP in the last 3 or 4 days, predominantly to the DAP, funny enough. The DAP seems to be faring better than anything else at the minute, you know.
Tell me this actually, is the DAP still practiced much like?
Oh yeah, and Corrib, it's huge. Yeah, it's very traditional, you know, especially in parts, especially where I am here, and where Thomas as well. It's really like Mike Cullen, the Muck up Gerard area there. It's, you know, there's a lot of, and then some like you get some guys there and they're absolutely brilliant dappers. I mean, they will put you to shame. Like, we will not compete with them on the day when the DAP is going well, and that is no joke. You know,
have the conditions the last few days, Mike, been kind of more suitable for the DAP, is it?
Yeah, it's been pretty good the weekend there. Well, Saturday was a calmish enough day, but Sunday was a nice it was a nice kind of what we'd say a wet fly day, you know. It was showery, it was a southerly, you know, so, but whereas the lake fish pretty okay, but especially the guys dapping seem to do better than anybody, you know, and it can be that way sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Just, you know, we'd often talk about it there, like, whereas, you know, you'd think it'd be a great day for the wet fly, but it's you know, they just mightn't be at that stage or taking flights at that stage, you know. There might be just more interest in taking flights off the top of the water, you know, and the DAP then comes into its own, you know, and a lot of lads would be dapping natural Mayfly, and, you know, that's what's going to get the really good fish, because, you know, they won't be fooled too easily by artificials. But, you know, a good dapper, but, you know, with natural Mayfly, you know, he'll get the big guy, you know what I mean? He'll get the big fish, you know. They'll fool them with that, you know.
Interesting. Would that still out? That would outfish
on its day, yeah. On its day in, you know, like, you know, guys that are really, really good. Like, I used to dap with a guy there years ago. He'd dap with me and I'd be fly fishing, and on its day it would destroy him. Like, you just couldn't compete with him, you know. And it's amazing. The fish will pick out, you know, a well dap fly, they'll pick it out way faster some days, you know.
I was just saying there before you got on, and I was just saying that like the DAP has its day, but generally, would you reckon, because I definitely find it up here that there's a period at the start that I think the wet fly, the first couple of days, the wet fly will outfish anything. But then,
normally, yeah,
and it's that's the period. That's the period for the wet fly, man. But then once the fly is anyway established, it's like what you said there. It's, I think, very hard to beat the DAP. Good dry fly fishing might match it on occasion, but I think the wet fly soon goes down to third.
It does, yeah. It's like, look, I think any of us, that are, you know, doing any bit of fly fishing is, like for me, the cream of the mayfly is dries. You know,
Yeah.
I just love fishing dries, and every chance I get during the mayfly, I'll fish dry flies. Like, you know, it's just the takes and everything. It's just, you know, something. If you get fish moving well, it's a brilliant way to fish that time of year. You know.
Tom, actually, would you talk to me through kind of the stages of it, and is it kind of cyclical like this, or like because you were saying how they're on the wets, you know, and then it'll move on to, you know, is it, you know, the dries after that, or but just talk me through the kind of the cycle of it or the stages of it.
What I base that thing on the wets about, and I don't know if you might agree with me, Mike, but when the mayfly starts, I think they're just keen, and because they're you know, mayflies just appeared, they're hungry and they're going for it. So I probably put it down. I put it down to it's kind of easier to fool them, you know. But as it goes on and as the hatch develops, they're more used to mayflies. They want them presented properly, and like Mike was saying there's nothing nicer than in the middle of the mayfly with a fish after taking 2 or 3 mayflies in a wind lane below you, presenting your dry fly right to him and him taking it. And as he said, that's the cream of it. But at that stage, they're probably just taking flies off the top, or, you know, they can afford to hone in on an easy picking, right? Whereas maybe at the start, they'll chase after things. But at this stage, the food has become like a conveyor belt to them. I don't know. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I'd agree with you. They're probably, you know, keener at the start. It's like any hatch, really. You know what I mean? When fish start moving first on something, you know what I mean? They're more aggressive and they're keener and to do that and to go, you know. But I just, you know, look at it has its day. Like, it's still, you know, the wets is nice. The wets is nice for them, and you know, we all fished them, and it's nice to get a good wet fly day, you know. And especially if you go up to Mask or somewhere, you know, you'll normally get, if you have a bit of mayfly, you'll normally get a really good day on the wets, and that's lovely. It's a nice bit to fish. But I just think for at that time of year, I just find on, you know, I think on Corrib, every chance I get anyway, I'd be fishing dries. You know, it's just, I think it's nicer fishing. I think it's, you know, it's more visual. You know, you get a lot of that. You know, you can see the takes, as you said there. You can see if you've got a few fish moving down in front of you.
Yeah,
You know, it's nice. It's nice to get them to just come up and, you know,
yeah,
crack that fly, you know.
that is the buzz, isn't it? That is the buzz, seeing
Yeah.
the fish going down on top of them. Yeah.
And tell me this then, we're still kind of at the west fly stage of it, are we? Like, in the sense of, would you expect that now to kind of change over the next week or so, or depending on conditions, or what are you looking out for? Like,
I'd say up here, now, traditionally, this is interesting as well. Michael agreed with me on this. Like, where I am, it just goes to show you the size of Lough Corrib. Like, it's 40 kilometres long. We're always that bit earlier up at this part of the lake for some reason with the mayfly than you would be down your area, Mike, yeah?
Yeah. Normally, well, we'd say June Bank Holiday weekend, Tom, we've had some brilliant fishing up in Douglas, like, you know what I mean? That kind of time on mayfly. And then, you know, I suppose it is probably that few days ahead. I'd say probably middle part of the lake, we'll say Octorard, we'll say down to, you know, Conlamuck area and that. Probably in the last week or so, really, it started to fish a bit, probably in the last week.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's probably, depending on weather conditions and all the rest of it, you know what I mean? There's probably a couple more weeks left in it, really. Do you know?
Oh, there is, yeah. And what I'm saying there with the difference is, I think up with us at the moment, I think the wet flies have become this week are starting to become less successful. Definitely, yeah, definitely. And just talking to a few of the boys today, Mike, they actually did well on dries today. There's some really good fish caught up there at the lines. And today was the first day that the dries outfished the wets for those lads, the Tunbridge lads.
That can be the case. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I said to you the other day, we were saying just on about the tap, and I said, like, you know, if that's the case, like, definitely, I think you're going to get better fishing on dries than on wets.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, if you see the DAP working better, like, it's just logical at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? They're obviously taking, you know what I mean, you know, the done, you know what I mean, the fly that's up on top of the water. So if that's the case, well, then you're better off on dries, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
just our last question on the DAP. Do many visiting anglers do it, or is it mainly locals because it's traditional? And the second part of that question is is it becoming in danger of becoming a lost art in the sense of the younger generation of anglers don't really know how to do it or know much about it?
Don't run where I am. There's no last art. I'll say that much.
Dark arts, maybe. Dark arts.
Yeah. No.
There's a few sharks. There's a few sharks down there.
Yeah. What about the great white shark up here? Great white.
Yeah. Well, that's good names like that, Darius, for a reason.
Yeah. That up here, Dara, called the great white shark, right? Yeah. No, I wouldn't say it's
And it's not because he likes watching Jaws films.
no. No, not at all. No, there's still a lot of guys the DAP, and there's still a lot of visitor anglers. I find. Yesterday I had lads. They were octogenarians. I had them for a couple of days, and they're fly fishers as well. But they did a great day on the DAP with me. They had 6 trout, but John, who's mid-80s, had one of his biggest ever fish from the Corrib. 55 centimeters, put him at 4.25 pounds. He put him back in mud. So
I love that. Getting your PB in your 80s, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's something else. That's something else. So he was delighted with that. Yes, so yeah, these visiting anglers, a lot of locals do it as well, though, as we were saying, as what Mike was saying there. And I couldn't agree more with them. People think dapping is very simple, and a trained, it could be automated, but no, there is seriously, there is a complete art to it. The great white shark used to have 2 rods, one with floss and one without floss. And if the wind dropped to a certain, it would put one rod away and varyingly to the strength of the wind. So,
yeah, it's, they don't teach you that at school.
no.
Tell me this in terms of, Mike, is this the best time in terms of if you're targeting big fish, or when's your favorite time of year to be targeting the big fish?
It's probably if you're going to target big fish, I think probably the buzzer is probably the best way to get big trout.
Yeah.
If you want to get, I suppose, from the Campto buzzer there, I suppose this year we've probably has kicked off the end of April. I'd say the way the weather's going now, I'd say it'll probably be tapering off. I'd say it's probably coming to an end. It doesn't really seem to last as long anymore.
Yeah.
The hatches have got shorter. But it's been exceptional this year, and I'll have to say, and the quality of the fish is. I have to say, on the lake this year in general, the quality of the fish is brilliant. The fish are in brilliant condition right from the start of the season. So but look, at the end of the day, there's nothing better to bring a big fish up than a mayfly. At the end of the day, but would you be targeting them? Probably not for that. But you know what I mean. It's a magical time on the lake. That's the only thing. Everything kicks off in May. At the end of the day, really, even if you look around in your own garden, everything starts to happen. You know what I mean? And the same with the mayfly. I think it's just a nice time of the year. It's not
of summer, isn't it?
Competition time. You'd have a lot of local club competitions and things on, but it's more of a friendly atmosphere. It's relaxed. A lot of people, just go out for the day. Do you know what I mean? Lads that wouldn't fish that much, they might go out and fish the DAP for the day, or go out and fish with their friends for a day and, have a steak out in the lake or a bottle of wine, whatever. You know what I mean? And I think it's nice that way. It's a more, you know what I mean? It's a more, people come just for the bit of fishing. People that mightn't be, Tom will tell you there, like people that mightn't do a huge amount of fishing or be very serious about fishing, they'd like their few days during the Mayfly, Call it Duffer's fortnight, but I suppose it's, it is, you will get a bit of fishing,
It's, no, I agree with you. I think you summed it up well there, Mike, because like the shell rope was here on Paddy's Day, and, you'd go out, just down the cobwebs. But like, the evenings are still kind of cold. It's, dark. It's only now that in May you feel the evenings are long, it's bright until whatever, 9:30, 10. There's a bit of warmth there that I'm kind of tempted now to go out in the evening, whereas before you're kind of like, no, I'll leave it, I'll wait till the weekend during the day.
Well, that's it, exactly, yeah.
And there's something special. And Tom, like when I was down with you, and I've said this before, is as an outsider kind of arriving, especially, I'll never forget seeing it the first time as I came through Con, so I was at the top of the lake
Mm.
and looking down there, and it was my first sight of Corrib and seeing the boats out in the water and seeing the rods held up, and I was just like, yeah, there's something going on here, like, and you just got that buzz in the pub, seeing the the visiting cars, the tourists, the tourist reg driving around. You just got that sense of there was a buzz in the air, like, and I think you summed it up, like it's that kind of camaraderie or just people wanting to get out for a bit of enjoyment. That it's the start of summer, isn't it? Like it's the kind of one of
It is. It is relaxed. You know what I mean? It's everybody likes their bit of everybody likes to get a few fish, and it's that's what it's all about. It's very relaxed. It's have a bit of food out on an island. There's nothing nicer than a day go out with a couple of your mates. Bring a few steaks, bottle of wine. Have a bit of crack. It's just lovely. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's it's there's no real big pressure then.
Yeah, I should say that there was quite a few of us on one of the huts today having lunch, and it was just fantastic. We were just having there was no fry up, and the fry ups are fantastic when we do have them. But it was just everybody was just sitting down, everybody was just chatting.
You get a better humor when the sun is shining, don't you? Like,
yeah, no, but it's that. I think that's part of it. I think that's why people like it, and it's just it's. You're part of a, it's kind of like a festival. You're part of a festival. Yes. Yeah. And you're really, it's just so enjoyable. And it's like Mike said, like, Mike just said it there and touched on it, like, we're both competition anglers. But like, we both enjoy this side of it as well. This is the side that, most run-of-the-mill fishermen experience or go for. And it's just, God, it's a little bit of heaven. It really is. Sorry, but it is.
But can I ask you, and I did want to ask you, is the flip side of that is when you're guiding, you're so busy, like it's a tough time as well in terms of, or is it that it's still early enough in the season that you're not burned out yet? Like you can still enjoy it, like.
Well, I suppose, look, the one thing about guiding is the best job in the world when you're catching fish.
Mm.
Okay? What the corollary of that is if you're not catching fish, you're thinking, we've got to be catching fish. So that's it. So if you're catching fish, it's perfect. Doesn't matter if you were doing 100 days in the trot. Be grand.
Yeah.
And
Mike, what about yourself? Will you be like, how often do you fishing yourself now during the Mayfly? Like, would you be getting out every day, every few days?
Yeah, I take a few days off now and I'll do a bit of fishing during the Mayfly and, have a few days out with a few friends of mine. And yeah, I do enjoy it. I'll be honest with you. It's a nice, it's just a nice time to get out and it's you kind of do chill out and relax as well. It's, you go through March there and, then the kind of like fly hatches start and, there is a few competitions on and stuff and you're kind of going from one thing to the other and then you have the olives and, and then once it comes in really into this time of year now, whereas I said to you, it's just, it's more relaxed. Do you know what I mean? And I think people switch off a bit and it's just, you get a bit of fishing. Like if you've got any right conditions, you get a bit of fishing, in the Mayfly. So, you don't have to have anything fantastic. People just like to get out. They just like to experience it. If you get a couple of trout, it's great. Day out, bite to eat. I think it's just everybody you meet really. There's people on holidays. There's people that, people come for the Mayfly every year. You meet people, like there's lads come from Wales every year. You meet up with them. There's lads come from England every year. You'd get to know them over the years. And, it's very, it's, as Tom says, it's very festive. It's very, do you know what I mean? There's a bit of a holiday buzz about it, Yeah, even if the fishing is just middling, everybody's in good humor,
Yeah, no, it's very true. And especially like, and it must be nice as well that, you're saying this could last until June. You know what I mean? You have a couple of weeks.
Yeah, if you're willing to move around, it'll last well into June,
Yeah.
I think what you said as well there, Mike, as well. And here's the thing, we're talking about enjoying it and everything, and we do, but in the midst of all that, you can go out after one of the nicest lunches you've had with lovely steak, and for the next hour, you could experience some of the finest fishing you could have for the whole year. Fish
exactly,
come on, you could have, they could come onto the adult maze, and you've got your dry fly set up, and that's the beauty of it. And suddenly, from really relaxed, you're going into some fantastic, fishing that wouldn't be surpassed anywhere in the world for that hour, with wild fish,
Yeah, that's it, exactly. Like, we've had experience days ourselves there. Was it about 2 years ago? Do you remember one?
Remember that?
I think we had 2 or 3 fish in the morning.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the lunch, and we come out in the afternoon, and we had brilliant fishing in the afternoon. We were into double figures of fish in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Right
Remember
until, I
that?
think we fished until about 6 or 7 o'clock, and
It
if you
was
stayed out
cold.
longer, you were still catching fish, I'd say.
It was fantastic. And remember that they were just we were on wets that day, weren't we?
Yeah, it was all
Yeah.
that.
And they were just bulging in the wind lanes. And all you had to do was just chuck out, and there was some great ones, Mike. Remember, full cast of a line crossways into a wind lane where a fish would bulge, and your line would straighten out, and you wouldn't even get a chance to pull it, and it would go off, and the whole thing would explode. It was absolutely like what I just said. Fishing that we'll never forget that, Mike.
No, yeah, that's the whole thing. Yeah, and
Brilliant.
it can just come on as well, like during the day, as you said there. You know what I mean? And you could be out in the morning, and it could be very happening. And that's often the case in the Mayfly. And
Yeah.
the afternoon into the evening can be the best of it.
Yeah.
Mike, tell us, let's get a bit more technical maybe for people who want a bit more detail on it. What would the dry fly setup be?
Normally on the dries, you'd fish two. Normally fish two dries, well spaced out, maybe probably 10 foot to the first fly and probably another 6 or 7 foot to the second fly. Unless it was quite a windy day and I still wanted to fish dries, I'd probably fish maybe a 16, 18 foot cast and 3 dries spaced out. The reason for that is in a big wave, big windy day, fish aren't going to be as fussy. They're not going to have as much time on the flies to look at them. And as well as I think the actual 3 flies actually support each other better. That's my own feeling. I've never found fishing 3 to be a disadvantage in I'd say in more wet fly conditions, That's what I would normally wolves. I like wolves. I like fishing wolves. Like, it depends on the colors, and then after that, everyone has their own preferences. Green wolves, royal wolves, yellow wolves. You know what I mean? Normally on the Corrib, it's not a great spint lake, to be honest. We don't get these big, massive. You get spint going out, but it dribbles and grabbles, but you'd never really get really good spint fishing as such on the Corrib, not consistently anyway. Not like you're getting the likes of Sheelin and these places, I went up to Sheelin there a couple of years ago, and I never really had done the Mayfly up there, and it was unbelievable. I never seen that like in my life. I was hooked on it. I'm absolutely just can't wait for this year again to go up. But it's all spint fishing. Like, you might as well go up there in the evening time, really. That's the way it is. But like on Corrib is different,
Mike, just explain to people there just what you mean by the spent.
The spint is the spinner fly, we'll say, that goes out in the evening time when they come in, when they're obviously a green fly, what we call a green dun, when they emerge, and then they'll fly into the bushes, could be there for a day or two, and they'll molt into a black and white coloured fly, really. And they're just the ones that'll come out and mate then, and they'll fall onto the lake and lay their eggs. That's basically the cycle of it, from come up as a nymph, merger, hatch out, try their wings, fly onto land, moult, fly back out, and that process can take from 24 to 48 hours. But in saying that, we don't really get it. Sure, we don't, Tom. We don't get really, we don't get proper spin fishing, was what we'll say, as some of the lakes do, the likes of Derg and Sheelin and that,
I was the same as you, actually, when I saw it in Sheelin for the first time. It was amazing to see. Remember, we were saying that the waves of fly going out, and I saw it on real.
Spectacular.
We don't see that. We don't see that at all.
Any idea why?
You don't get the same volume of flies.
Okay.
Yeah, if you think of it, years ago there used to be a mayfly market in Lough, and here I sold mayflies as a kid, and you sold them because it was not hard to pick them, but it was easier to buy them. Whereas you'd never have to sell mayfly and Sheelin. So you could just scoop the net and you'd pick a dozen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that'll tell you, we get decent hatches, but nothing like what they get on some of the Midland necks. Well, Sheelin in particular.
Wow. And Tom, what's your setup?
Very similar to Mike. The exact same as Mike said there. space them out a good piece, yeah, 7 or to 8 feet between the two flies, 10 foot to the first one. Don't always go to 3 flies. I have done as Mike does. I know Mike likes it, and Mike's very successful with it. Probably with me, it's laziness that I don't. I'd be completely honest with you. I just wouldn't. I'd stick if it was very windy and I had the dry fly rod made up. I'd just stick with the 2 fly cast. But yeah, I agree with them totally. I think on a very windy day, they sit better in the water. There's no problem. The fish are not spooked by them. But definitely 2. The only time I'd ever go to 1, if it's flat calm, you might go to a tapered leader and fine down. But yeah, to be honest, in most of the times here, you don't have to. You don't have to go to a tapered leader. I go straight through to 3x tippet. Don't bother.
What flies?
It's same as wolves. Now, I really like the wolves as well. And what Mike was saying, that the different colours, like, I couldn't say like my carb wolf, which is a yellow wolf, is my favourite, because if you get a dark grey day, I don't find it fishes that well. I think it fishes better. I use different coloured post ones as well for different light conditions, because a white post one on a bright day you won't see. You know that with the Royal Wolf, Mike, it can be very hard. On some
exactly, yeah.
See it. And then there's other days you put on a Royal Wolf and you see it a mile away, whatever the light condition is, and a different colour post. So that's what I do. But yeah, wolves they're my go-to flies. Now, use other ones, emergers. I use a couple of CDC ones as well. But CDC in a big wave can be a bit of a nightmare. So you generally fall back on the wolves. You won't go too much wrong with them. Every year you get a different pattern. Might come up the CDC. But I'll start off this year on my dries, and I'll start off with various wolves. And then I'll work out of that.
And do you generally then, once the conditions or the hatch is on in terms of the dries, and you're saying it's kind of probably coming into that stage now with it, that's what they're taking. Will that be it then for the rest of the kind of the Mayfly season, that you'll stick with the dries then?
Well, a bit like what Mike said, I probably will, because I love fishing them.
Yeah.
And it's a nice time to fish them. Now, that said, I'm really enjoying my wet fly fishing at the moment. I was saying that to Mike the last time, really enjoying it. And you might go to a place where it'll be later at the Mayfly start, and look, there's no hard and fast rule just because the Mayfly will be on for 2 weeks that you won't catch them on wets. You know, that's a complete generalization when I'm saying that. You know that, Mike. I mean, you can catch, we caught on wet mayflies at the end of May and early June, you know?
So you will, yeah. And you have to be prepared as well. It's not just kind of, you go out the one thing that's going to work. Like, realistically, like, well, I'd say for fly fishing, you want to have like 2 rods. Really need a wet fly rod and a dry fly rod made up with you. And like, you can go down the drift and you can see a few fish moving, and you can cover them on dries and just not get them.
Yeah.
And then you can go back and do that drift, and you can pull wets across them and get them. And the reason for that is just basically this at the stage that the fish want to fly at. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So they're obviously not taking it off. Okay, you're seeing the fish turn in the water, but they're probably just taking them at an emerging stage. They just lock in on that sometimes. And then just a subsurface fly is, or you can try emergers as well, like they do work. But just probably from a simplistic point of view, if you're out in nice conditions, you're either going to, your hackle maze, if they're not working, and the same vice versa. If you're fishing wets and you cover a few fish and you're not getting them, try them on your dries and you probably will get them, because it's just at the stage that they're either taking just at a merger stage, or they're taking at, they're taking off the top.
Yeah, it's true.
It's normally one or the other.
What I often like to do, actually, if you have lads out, you 2 lads out, start off one on each method.
Mm-hmm.
It really makes sense, and generally you'll find out quick enough which one is going to be the most productive.
Mike, you mentioned Sheelin there. Do you get tempted by other waters during the Mayfly season?
Oh yeah, I'll move around. Like, I'll be like I'll fish Corrib, I'll fish Mask this time of the year. Love it. I'll go to Sheelin. Sheelin is a little bit later again. It's probably the 20th on or so, I'd say normally. So I'll do a few evenings on Sheelin, definitely. I know we've got a qualifier in June in Melbourne. It's a nice time of the year. Hopefully there's mayfly on it. If you get Melvin right on mayfly, it's brilliant fishing. I've had some fantastic days of mayfly up in Melbourne over the years. I just love it if the fish, they're not huge fish, but those fish in the deeps, they're pound for pound as good as any fish in the country. Those I've never fished Ree. I'd love to fish it. I've heard lots of things about it. So again, it's probably spent in the evening time. It's supposed to be exceptional fishing as well. Not probably not as prolific as Sheelin, but definitely, but the spent fishing on Sheelin, I was blown away by it. I just am stone mad on that now, I have to say. There's things that just do, when you just see that fall of spent, it's unbelievable. I can see fish moving on them, no, they're not easy got, you know what I mean? But, as a rule, but it's just, it is exceptional. But if you're willing, to move around and, you will probably get at least 6 weeks mayfly fishing. Do you know what I mean? If you actually want to move around a bit, Yeah. It's down to people, it's down to individuals, But it's hard to beat Corrib really for, we'll say, the normal wet fly, we'll say, and dry fly, and the green fly fishing. As I said to you, Sheelin, I would class really more so the first few days of it. I think lads have said to me is good, but I've been up there and I've seen during the day and I've seen thousands of green fly on the lake, and not a fish bothering with them. And even if you are to fish, I guarantee you, if you fish a green and a spent, I guarantee you any fish you get during the day, he's going to come up and take a spent. So they just seem to I don't know what it is. I suppose it just look, they're not stupid at the end of the day. They're, fish at the end of the day, they acclimatise to their surroundings. And why would you go around after emerging and hatch and fly during the day when that evening there's going to be thousands and thousands of spent fly lying underwater? You can just cruise around and mob up. Yeah. So that's what they do. They just lock into that, and that's it.
Well, it puts false claim to the the Duffers Fortnight moniker, I think, but I think you summed it up yourself in terms of it's the time of year, it's the atmosphere, it's the kind of festival buzz to it. I'm personally, what I love, it's the tradition. It's generations of families, come to Corrib, have been staying there, fishing, and long may that continue, and long may the tradition and history of it continue, no matter what. And I think it's just something from a cultural, historic perspective that we should just, be very proud of. And, it's our St. Patrick's Day festival in many ways for the
That's it, exactly. Yeah. I think Corrib is synonymous with that, over the years. It is I suppose if you say mayfly, probably one of the first lakes comes into your mind is Corrib, probably worldwide, and it is synonymous with that. People, that there's people for years and years, they book their holidays, they book time off work to come and fish Corrib for the mayfly, and it is it's an experience, I think it is. That's what it is actually an experience, It's not just the fishing; it's the whole experience of the thing, And
I think if anybody's listening, even an Irish angler, if you get a chance, do try it. If you can book a guide in, if you're lucky, because they're booked out so many years in advance now in that. But just to get the experience of it. For me, I remember when I went to Corrib the first time, it was kind of one of the first places I went when I started fly fishing to get a kind of a, that was away from kind of the local waters where I was kind of learning. And it was, you really just got that sense of that kind of festival community to it. And it's well worth experiencing when you can. Mike, Keady, thanks a million for the insights and advice there. Tight lines for the rest of the weeks that are left in the Mayfly season. As I said, we're going to get a review and a kind of a wrap up of kind of all the waters in the next few weeks, just to hear how Sheelin and Corrib and Mask went. So we'll do that in another couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, hopefully the best of it's to come in the next few weeks. So if you won't get them, at home. So man, to get out there, lads.
No, never a true word spoke, Mike.
Don't catch them on the television.
No, you might think you will. You'll only get them on the lake or the river, but you'll only get them on the lake. Our thanks to Mike Keady for joining us on the show. Don't forget to rate, review, and follow the Ireland on the Fly podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast from.
Also, you can keep up to date on irelandonthefly.com as well as on Instagram. Myself and Tal will be back with another episode about the people and places of fly fishing in Ireland.